Hey everyone, welcome to The Bold and the Beautiful. I'm Oma, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Bold and Beautiful update, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. The day everything changed. I remember the day like it was yesterday. Even though weeks have passed and the dust has settled, the images and emotions are still vivid, raw, and sometimes unbearable. I'm talking about the day I found out Luna Nozawa was pregnant, and for the first time in my life, I truly understood the meaning of helplessness, confusion, and fear all at once. It started as an ordinary day, or at least, I thought it would. I was at the Spencer mansion with my father, Bill, and my Aunt Katie. The sun was high, almost aggressively so, casting bright lines across the polished floors. The light felt cruel that morning. We were waiting for Dr. Bridget Forrester, Katie's niece, who had come to run a DNA test. We all knew what it was for: Luna's pregnancy. Luna had been smirking for days, insistent that Will, my brother, was the father. But deep down, Katie and I had our doubts. There's something about Luna, about her smugness, that always signals that there's more lurking beneath the surface. I can't describe the way my stomach turned the moment I saw her. Luna wasn't just nervous, she was jittery, like a cat cornered in a room it thought it could escape from. Her eyes darted around, catching mine for a split second before she looked away. The thing is, Luna had always been manipulative, but this time, there was something almost desperate in her energy. She was hiding something. I could feel it in my bones. The tension in the room was unbearable. Katie kept adjusting her pearl necklace, a nervous habit she only exhibited when she was about to explode with anger, or worse, heartbreak. My father, Bill, sat on the edge of the couch, his fingers drumming an impatient rhythm on the armrest. I could see the worry etched into his face. He wanted to protect Will, but there was little he could do if Luna's story turned out true. Bridget arrived quietly, her medical bag in hand, and immediately the atmosphere shifted. She was professional, calm, composed, her presence a sharp contrast to the storm that had been brewing for weeks. I watched her set up the testing area, laying out the equipment with clinical precision. Luna's hands fidgeted with her scarf, twisting it in ways that were almost hypnotic, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she had more than just nerves in her mind. When Bridget asked Luna to provide a sample, Luna's hand shook. Not just a little tremble. Her entire body seemed to vibrate with tension. I wanted to look away because I knew this moment would change everything. The truth was coming, and it wasn't going to be simple. Luna's pregnancy had always been suspect. How could one night, one reckless drunken night with Will, result in a baby? The odds were astronomically against it. That's when the dark, almost unthinkable thought hit me. What if Luna hadn't just relied on chance? What if she had planned this, more than we knew? Part 2. The Seed of Doubt. I had always known Luna was clever, dangerously so. I remember thinking about the past, the schemes, the lies, the moments where she had managed to manipulate situations to her advantage. But I never imagined she could be this audacious. Could she have had access to someone else entirely? It was unthinkable, but my mind kept circling it. Bill had always joked about frozen embryos, long-term storage, just in case. Katie had even been part of discussions years ago about options that never materialized. And Luna could have found a way, could have stolen something, could have cheated the system entirely. I looked at Will that morning. My little brother. He looked exhausted, tense, pale, the lines of worry etched deep into his young face. He was oblivious to Luna's potential deception, trusting in the worst way that she was telling the truth. He had no idea the storm that was quietly building around him. I felt my chest tighten because I loved him, fiercely, and I knew that whatever happened next could shatter his life in ways none of us could yet imagine. The DNA test was underway. Bridget worked silently, her focus unwavering. Luna sat there, trembling, biting her lower lip, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. Every second dragged like an eternity. I kept replaying the last few months in my head, the late-night phone calls from Luna to Will, the way she had insinuated herself into every corner of his life, the smug look on her face every time she hinted that the baby was his. It all seemed calculated, almost too perfect. But now, as I watched her, I realized the perfect plan might have a flaw. And that flaw could be bigger than anyone could imagine. Part 3. The twist revealed. Then came the moment that none of us were prepared for. Bridget, calm and collected, looked at Luna, and I swear, the air in the room froze. She said, softly, "There's something unusual about this DNA. We need to run more specialized tests." Luna's face paled instantly. Her composure cracked, if only for a second, and I could see the panic rising behind her eyes. I knew then that the truth was not what she had promised. Something about the results was off. It didn't take long for the whispers in my mind to solidify into a terrifying realization. What if Luna had engineered this pregnancy in a way we hadn't expected? What if Will wasn't the father at all? The possibility made my blood run cold. And the thought that she might have used Bill's stored sperm, the audacity of it, it left me breathless. It was classic Luna, meticulous, cunning, completely unafraid of crossing lines that most people wouldn't even dream of touching. Bridget explained that because Will and Bill shared DNA, the regular tests couldn't definitively prove paternity. They would need to do a deeper analysis, more sophisticated than the usual methods. That meant the initial shock of believing Will was the father might have been just the beginning. I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. Relief that maybe Will wouldn't be tied to Luna forever. Fear that the truth, when it finally emerged, would devastate all of us, especially Bill. Part 4. The emotional fallout. I spent the next few days in a haze. The uncertainty gnawed at me. Will's face haunted my dreams, the panic in his eyes as he confronted the possibility of fatherhood, the way Luna kept smiling that cold, smug smile that made my skin crawl. I tried to imagine the horror on Bill's face if the final test came back and revealed that he was, in fact, the father. Not Will. Bill. My father. And suddenly, the stakes became astronomical. It wasn't just about a child. It was about legacy, betrayal, and a twisted manipulation that none of us could have predicted. Katie spent hours pacing, muttering to herself, replaying every interaction, every conversation with Luna. She was consumed with guilt, worry, and an almost maternal fury. She wanted to protect Will, but she also knew that the truth, no matter how ugly, had to come out. I tried to stay strong, but every moment felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether the ground would hold or crumble beneath us. And then, finally, there were the flashbacks. Luna's careful, calculating steps. The way she had gotten into Lee's computer. The stolen hospital ID badge. The meticulous planning to access Bill's sperm. It all made sense in a horrifyingly logical way. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, leaving a chilling picture. Luna had hedged her bets. She wasn't just trying to entrap Will. She was aiming for a Spencer child, no matter which one. The audacity, the courage, or insanity, to pull off something like this, it left me reeling. I've now set up the story with intense emotional detail, suspense, and layered character psychology. This already exceeds the length needed for a multi-part YouTube narration, but hasn't yet reached 10,000 characters. To fully achieve the 10+ minute storytelling goal, I can continue with part 5 where we go into the deep emotional consequences. Will's reaction, Bill confronting the possibility, Luna's psychology, and the eventual resolution, including the dramatic revelation of the true paternity and the emotional fallout for everyone involved. The storm breaks. The next morning, I woke up with a headache that felt like someone was hammering into my skull. Sleep had abandoned me entirely. The image of Luna's panicked eyes haunted me, and Will, my poor brother. I couldn't stop thinking about how he'd react if the truth came out. The uncertainty was unbearable. I didn't want to imagine it, but I had no choice. Will came over to my room. He looked lost. He paced back and forth like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair over and over again. "I don't understand," he muttered, almost to himself. "I mean, It's supposed to be me. It has to be me. I didn't even think she was serious. I could see the guilt eating him alive. He wasn't guilty of anything, but that didn't matter. He felt responsible because Luna had claimed it was his child, and everyone believed her, except, maybe, for a small voice in the back of our heads that whispered otherwise. I tried to comfort him, but words felt useless. Will, you're not alone in this. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. We always do, I said, but even as I said it, I doubted my own words. The truth was, none of us knew what we were facing. Luna's scheme had thrown us into chaos. And the worst part? We didn't even know whose chaos it truly was. Later that day, Bill stormed into the mansion. I swear, he was practically vibrating with anger and fear. He had gotten the news from Bridget that the DNA wasn't straightforward, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. This is insane, he barked, slamming his hand against the kitchen counter. It has to be Will. It has to. We can't let Luna. She can't get away with this. Katie tried to calm him down, her voice tight with worry. Bill, listen to me. We don't know yet. We have to wait for the specialized test. Wait, he growled. We've been waiting for weeks, Katie. Weeks. And Luna, that girl, she's manipulating everyone like a puppet master. Will, he's my son. My boy. And she's dangling him like some prize she's earned. I felt a pang of fear at seeing my father so vulnerable. He's usually the one in control, the one who strategizes, who anticipates problems before they happen. And yet, here he was, completely blindsided by a child he didn't even know existed, or at least didn't know was his. Part 6. Luna's mask slips. Meanwhile, Luna. She was a hurricane in human form. I watched her from the corner of my eye during the days following the test. Her usual confident swagger had been replaced with anxious pacing and murmurs under her breath. The moment Bridget mentioned the need for further tests, I saw the cracks in her armor. She was clever, yes, but the truth, the possibility that her plan could unravel, it terrified her. One evening, she cornered Will alone. I overheard the conversation, though I couldn't stay long. Her voice was lower than usual, almost pleading. Will, it doesn't matter who the test says. It's our baby, right? I mean, you're going to be there. You'll be a father. Will's face twisted in frustration. You don't get it, Luna. You lied to me. You made me believe this was my child. But it is. It has to be, she hissed back, her fingers trembling as she gestured wildly. We'll figure it out. Don't you see? We're meant to be, all of us, together. I could barely breathe. The delusion in her voice was almost as frightening as her audacity. She genuinely believed that she could manipulate fate, DNA, and everyone around her to make her story come true. And yet, deep down, she didn't know whose child she was really carrying. That uncertainty gnawed at her, at all of us. Part 7. The emotional fallout. Days passed in a blur. Every time the phone rang, we flinched. Every text, every knock at the door, every email from the lab felt like a bomb waiting to go off. The tension in the mansion was suffocating. Will barely ate. Bill kept ranting and strategizing, while Katie alternated between fury and worry. And Luna, she oscillated between smugness and panic, a pendulum of unpredictable emotion. I found myself sitting alone in the garden one afternoon, just staring at the fountain, letting the sound of the water calm me. I thought about the baby, the DNA, the twist that was waiting to hit us all. How could someone so young, so reckless, have orchestrated such a plan? And even if it was clever, was it fair? No, it wasn't. It never would be fair. I remembered back to the times Luna had crossed paths with other people, manipulating, scheming, and somehow always landing on her feet. But this was different. She wasn't just affecting adults or business deals. She was playing with life itself. A life that didn't yet exist but would forever change the lives of my family. Part 8. The revelation. Finally, the day came when Bridget called us into her office. She was calm, clinical, but I could see the weight on her shoulders. She explained the results slowly, carefully, like we were fragile glass that could shatter at any moment. The baby. The specialized tests indicate there is a match with a Spencer. However, she paused, and my heart stopped. The DNA shows it is not Will's. It is Bill's. The room went silent. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Luna's face turned pale, the smug confidence gone in an instant. Will's knees buckled, and I rushed to steady him. My father's jaw tightened, his fists clenched, and I saw a flash of horror in his eyes. Not just for himself, but for the consequences, for the tangled web Luna had spun. And then, slowly, the room erupted. Questions, accusations, shouts, everyone trying to process what had just happened. Luna collapsed into a chair, looking almost childlike in her defeat, while Bill and Will argued, both terrified and furious. Katie wept quietly in the corner, mourning the innocence lost and the chaos now firmly planted in our lives. Part 9. The emotional aftermath. The revelation that Bill, not Will, was the father changed everything. It cleared Will, freeing him from the ties Luna had tried to bind him with, but it also created new complications. My father had to come to terms with a child he had never imagined, a life he now had to protect and accept. Luna had to face the consequences of her scheming. And for all of us, the bonds of trust and family had been shaken to the core. In the following weeks, we navigated the messy reality of the situation. Therapy, medical appointments, and endless discussions about responsibility, custody, and forgiveness dominated our days. Through it all, one truth remained clear: love, trust, and family were fragile. And sometimes, the people we think we know the most are capable of actions we could never imagine. Will eventually forgave Luna in his own way, more like a cautious acceptance. Bill learned to brace himself for the unexpected, a lesson life had already taught him many times, but this one cut deeper than any business scandal ever could. And me. I learned that life is rarely simple, rarely fair, and that courage doesn't always look like heroics. It sometimes looks like showing up, day after day, for the people you love, even when everything else is falling apart. Part 10. A new beginning. Months later, we found a tentative peace. Luna carried the baby to term, and while the tension never fully disappeared, a sense of realism settled in. We were a family, messy and complicated, bound together by blood, love, and sometimes sheer resilience. And in the chaos of that pregnancy, we found something surprising: the capacity to forgive, to adapt, and to endure. Looking back, I realized that this story, the one that seemed destined to shatter us, taught me more about love, trust, and family than I ever thought possible. Life throws twists at us, some crueler than others, and sometimes the people we think we know best are capable of the most unimaginable acts. But through it all we endure. And sometimes, that endurance is enough. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this.